What's up, Speed Golf family? We're live with Garrett Holt, official Speed Golf USA Rules official for 2024. Garrett?
I'm happy to help. You know, everyone's kind of doing their own thing to get this thing off the ground and running and building, and I'm excited to help provide some expertise or consistency with the rules, which is pretty big in our sport.
Fantastic. The purpose of this conversation is to clarify what are the new and updated rules for Speed Golf USA Tournaments 2024. I'm going to be the host. Garrett, you're going to be like the expert witness, and we're going to jump right into Section 1, which says USGA rules apply. Do you have anything to add?
No, we want this to be very similar to regular golf. Obviously, there's a couple of things that we do slightly differently, but if it's not written on there, you guys should know the USGA rules. If not, take a little refresher course, visit the website.
Fantastic. So the remainder of this video will be the exceptions to USGA rules, exceptions or modifications to USGA rules that we make for the purpose of making speed golf more like speed golf. So, pacers and caddies. Players are not permitted to have caddies or pacers during a round. Garrett, what does that mean?
Well, you know, it's pretty common for most of us whenever we go out to follow along other people. We don't want people to be at an advantage or disadvantage because they do or do not have a little group that's helping them pace or giving them advice. Advice is a really big thing. That's pretty standard in the USGA. You can't get advice on how far you are, what club you should hit. They can help spot balls. Spectators can do all that stuff. Just imagine that you're at a regular golf tournament. You can spectate and spot balls, but you can't pace, you can't help, you can't provide advice or anything like that.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is the only way a spectator is allowed to help is to help you find your ball.
Correct.
All right. Equipment. So there are really 3 rules of equipment. No equipment assistance. Players have to carry all their equipment without assistance. However, in most Speed Golf USA tournaments, there's a provision that allows your scorekeeper riding the cart to carry water and golf balls if you want them to, which is nice because I like to carry about 9 golf balls just, you know, on the off chance it's a really rough day, and 9 golf balls would really weigh me down if I had to carry them on my person.
Yeah, it would weigh you down. I mean, you'd need zippered pockets. I've tried all that. They hop out of your pockets. Having a couple extra golf balls, I think that's still within the spirit of it. They're not carrying half the clubs or the bag or anything like that.
Okay, so you must carry all your equipment, generally with the exception that you can put your water and golf balls on the cart with your scorekeeper. No equipment on the greens. This is unfortunately now called the Nick Gooden rule. So let's say you have a wedge and a putter for greenside play. You're not allowed to rest the wedge on the green while you putt, for example. And you sure as heck are not allowed to place your bag on the green. However, if you drop it by accident and pick it right back up, that is not a penalty. That was established in the Jin Ota case in the 2023 U.S. Open for 1.
That actually happened to me at Worlds in Florida.
Yeah.
Was an accident on maybe the 17th hole. I wasn't aware of this. I docked myself a stroke. I told the scorekeeper I had a stroke to it. This has been a long-standing thing where you can't put clubs on the green. Doesn't matter whether you lay it down gently or you drop it or you put the bag on it. Doesn't matter whether the bag is soft or hard. If you have a slip of mind or you do it on purpose to gain an advantage, the penalty is still the same.
Yep. Speed golfers take care of the golf course, and this is part of that effort to always take good care of the golf course. No matter how careful you feel like you're being, the safest thing to do is just not place any equipment on the green. And and that's why there's a penalty stroke applied. Third rule in the equipment section, you must finish with all equipment. All Speed Golf USA tournaments this year are going to have a finish line, and so you must pick up your ball out of the cup and cross the finish line with the ball you tapped in on the last hole.
Yeah, finishing with all the equipment. I mean, in theory, you could, if you were creative, if we didn't have this rule, you could hit your driver on the last hole, drop the driver. You could hit an iron from the fairway, drop the iron. You hit the green, you drop all your clubs but your putter, and you run up. I don't know how much that's going to save you. I don't know why you would want to have to walk back, you know, after the round, after your gas to get it. But this prevents that. It's been a common practice, at least at my event, to have a line painted in front of the green, to where you have to finish with all of your clubs and then you drop it. The one thing we're adding in this year is after you hole out the ball in the hole, you have to grab the ball, the rest of your clubs, and then run past that finish line. We're going to make this uniform this year.
Yep, definitely. So that all makes sense. This is a slight update from prior years. It looks like in prior years, you would be charged 1 penalty stroke per incident, and now the penalty has been changed to a blanket 2-stroke penalty for any equipment left on the golf course.
Yes.
In 2025, there will be an additional entry in the equipment section of the rules, and that is about adjustable golf clubs. Now, Scott has made it very clear that he doesn't want to mess with the 14 club rule, and so it will be stipulated that adjustable clubs have to have distinct club settings. And so, for example, a Q golf club has 11 settings, so that would count for 11 golf clubs. So you could carry a Q plus 3 clubs potentially, but not plus 4 clubs. So your 11 settings would count as 11 golf clubs in the bag in 2025. In 2024, adjustable clubs are not allowed in Speedgolf USA events.
Yeah, I think if you've speed golfed for the last 6 months or a year, you're aware of Q Golf and what they've done with the golf club. They've been one of the most recent manufacturers to get after this. It's really cool. I've got one myself. Everyone knows how fun it is to run around with only 1 or 2 clubs instead of 6 or 7. I think this adds to the fun. I think it makes it more accessible. I don't yet know whether it would have an effect on performance. Time will tell on that.
All right, section 4, lost ball or out of bounds. It's very simple here. In regular golf, you lose your ball or you hit it out of bounds, you must go back to the spot you hit it from. For speed golf, there's a much more pleasant remedy, which is you play it as though it's a hazard. So you drop on the line on which you hit it and play from there with a 1-stroke penalty. Garrett, please explain.
Yeah, very close to the hazard scenario. And this is where, at the beginning, we follow all USGA rules. The USGA rules for a lost ball or out of bounds. If you're a recreational player, you may not really know the real rule on that. You may, with your buddies, just drop it and then maybe out of stroke, maybe not. So the USGA introduced this rule, and I think the purpose was for pace of play. So you hit the ball down there, you lose it, you can't find it. USGA dropped that down to 3 minutes for looking for a lost ball. Well, then you would technically have to go back to the tee and you'd be hitting your third. First one goes out, you drop 2, you hit your third from the tee. That third ball is going to end up pretty close to where the first one was, maybe equidistant to it, maybe toward the fairway, and then you're hitting 4 from there. So technically the USGA model local rule would be that you hit the first one that you can't find, so it's lost or it's out of bounds. And they added an extra option. Instead of going back and reteeing and hitting 3 or having a 1-shot penalty, stroke and distance, you could do a 2-shot penalty and drop. I would charge everyone to find the picture. That diagram is excellent because they actually allow you to go toward the fairway and then almost 2 clubs into the fairway.
Basically, you draw a triangle between the spot where your ball went out of bounds, the fairway at the same distance away from the tee, and then the tee would be the third point of the triangle. Yeah. And then anywhere in that triangle is a legal drop with 2-stroke penalty. And so then the speed golf rule would be the same thing except with a 1-shot penalty.
Yeah. 2 strokes becomes 1, so you'd be hitting 3 from either in the rough if you choose, or the edge of the fairway, or slightly in the fairway on that little triangle.
I intend to take full advantage of this rule if I somehow lose a ball this year.
Yeah. I mean, if you know the rules and you know how to use it, if you don't know this rule, you could very well assume, well, my ball was headed this way, I have to drop over here. Well, now you're stuck behind the trees. You could have a clear shot toward the fairway. Use the rules to your advantage. The guys and gals on TV, PGA, LPGA, they use the rules to their advantage.
Excellent. Let's keep it moving. Official timing. Your start time is your tee time. So if you're late to your tee time by 1 minute, then you don't get to start at the time you start your round. You start at the time of your tee time. That would be your start time. And then your finish time would be whatever time you cross the finish line. So then your time for the round would be the elapsed time between your tee time and the moment you cross the finish line.
Yeah. No changes here except for that finish line that we mentioned.
Distance measuring devices. Distance measuring devices are permitted, but just like in USGA sanctioned tournaments, they're not allowed to give you a slope reading.
Yeah, and maybe we'll add this on the sheet. Slope, wind, whatever. It can't calculate the effective playing distance. It can calculate the factual point A to point B is 140 yards, not what it's effectively playing at.
Absolutely. Section 7 is called background music. The short story here, you are allowed to listen to music if you think it's going to help you run better or play better, but you have to be able to hear somebody calling 4 from behind you, a horn to suspend play. So if your volume is excessive and you can't hear what's going on around you, then that is too loud.
Yeah, so it kind of goes along with training aids. You mentioned that you can listen to it if it'll make you run better or golf better.
However,
the thing with music is that part of it has been illegal in golf if it will allow you to have a better swing tempo or to eliminate distractions. That's in the USGA rules. However, it's just background music or whatever, but it's not like, at a perfect beat that's going to slow you down or match up your tempo of your swing.
I'll make it easy.
Music.
Like it is completely unenforceable. If you say, hey, Adam, that background music is suspiciously similar to your swing tempo, I'll tell you it's just a coincidence. So that's completely unenforceable. You're allowed to listen to music, but if it's too loud, that is not okay because it's unsafe for the other competitors.
Yeah, it's unsafe for the other competitors. I mean, you got golf balls flying, you got people trying to shout 4, and there's someone running up on your tail.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And if you are intent on listening to music during your round, I recommend bone conduction headphones because they leave your ears open. All right. Section 8, weather delays. In the event of inclement or severe weather conditions, the host venue will determine if the competition shall be suspended for safety. If it's suspended, just like in real golf, a long horn blast will sound. You have to stop playing right away, mark where your ball is, and then go to a safe place right away. They'll also play a horn to resume play when it's deemed safe.
Yeah, luckily I can't recall a time this happened, but yeah, if something rolls in during the round, that is a tough scenario to handle for the golf tournament host. But yeah, safety is paramount. We use lots of volunteers, lots of participants. Safety is very, very important. The horn will blast. You have to stop immediately. We would take note of when the horn blasts, and you can do the calculations. You would also, one thing that I haven't seen play out, I don't know if, Adam, you've ever witnessed this, but yeah, you would have to mark where the ball is. That's standard in golf. Would you also want to mark where your body is? Like if I just tee off and my ball is 280 yards down the fairway, but I'm really back here 260 yards away, if I just mark where the ball is and I start out there, I'm gaining 260 yards.
Yeah.
So it could be more complex, although more fair, if you mark where the ball is and where you are.
Oh, actually, sorry. I'm rereading the rules, and it actually says mark your spot, mark the spot of your ball if different. So actually, exactly as you described, Garrett, that has been accounted for in the rules.
Yep.
Yes, you're supposed to mark where you are and where your ball is so that you don't get the free. Boy, 280 yards, Garrett. You've been pumping iron this winter?
Yeah. So
I would get 215 yards. Let's talk about passing competitors. Sometimes, we do our best when we organize these events to make sure that the fastest players are going out first so that there's no passing necessary. However, passing happens. Sometimes you have a bad round and the person behind you is having a career day, and then that can result in passing. So there's a 4-step process. If you intend to pass somebody, you first signal by yelling 4 as loudly as you can to the player you intend to pass. When that player hears the signal, they move to the side to a safe spot. And then when the passing player is in motion, here's what I'm reading, the player being passed may also proceed. So that is, you're running in parallel for about 1 hole, but then the passing player has to be allowed to take the lead.
Yeah, most of us are fairly chill about this, but we need to have rules to make sure that this is enforced. But generally, most of us are chill about this. But we do need it to take place within the 1 hole time span, because doing it for 2 or 3 holes is pretty complex. It gets awkward. It does delay someone inevitably, if not both people. And
it introduces safety concerns.
Exactly, yeah. Someone's, 50 yards ahead every single time. That's not safe, the volunteer or the player. So, yeah, we need this to take place within a 1 hole time span. So by the next hole, it needs to be clearly separated.
Section 10 is labeled uncertainty, and all it means is if you are uncertain of the rules or procedures, basically act as though you have a lost ball or an out of bounds situation, take a drop and continue playing. Would you add anything to that?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, it could be maybe ball stuck in a tree or, just if you're not sure what to do on that, communicate with your scorekeeper that, hey, hole number 4, I think it was a 6, but we'll check it out later to get that corrected before you post that score.
Mm-hmm. All right, now we get to the fun part, tiebreakers. So this would have come into play, for example, in the 2018 World Championships, which were won by 1 second. So the story here, as it's been told to me, and I agree with this, is that there can be issues with clocks and timers, and if there's only a 5-second difference between two competitors, we would not call that a conclusive win. So for that reason, we're introducing official tiebreaker language. Now, the leader on paper will be allowed to decide the tiebreaker format, and they're allowed to choose from what's called hole by hole or continuous play, or as I would call them, sprint golf versus endurance golf. So in the sprint golf format, hole by hole, you start a stopwatch, play hole 1, stop the stopwatch. Garrett, you would start hole 1, finish hole 1, and then we would reset for hole 2. So there would be a break in between holes. And I would call that the sprint golf format. We play that for 3 holes. Whoever has the lowest speed golf score over those 3 holes, that person's the winner. Alternatively, in the continuous play format, we start the stopwatch. You play hole 1, hole 2, hole 3, stop the stopwatch. I do the same, and then we compare scores. Garrett is, even if he's only 1 second faster, Garrett is the winner.
Yep. The people will qualify for the playoff, and then the winner after that is the winner. No extra playoff on top of that. Who knows how long that could go in that scenario?
All right. You've come to the end of the 2024 Rules of Speed Golf. Thank you so much, Garrett Holt, for helping us walk through this all. If anybody has any follow-up questions on these rules, wherever you're watching or listening to this, please leave a comment or reply or send an email to adam@speedgolf.baby. Send it to scottdawleygolf@gmail.com, and we will get your questions answered to the best of our abilities.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Adam. I'm very excited for the 2024 U.S. Tour with the majors coming up. Put in a little plug for the Missouri Open, Memorial Day weekend. Got a fun summer of speed golf in the U.S. and a really fun way to cap off the season with Worlds.